G'day everybody. Welcome to the Dash to Cert Kickoff webinar. I'll just go online. We'll just go on mute for a little bit. We'll give everyone some time to jump on, and we'll kick off probably in about probably 2 or 3 minutes. G'day everyone. We'll just give we'll give a couple more minutes to the people for other people to join, and then we'll kick off. Probably kick off in call it 2 minutes. All right, well, we've got a pretty good number of people logged onto the webinar now, so we might kick off. So look, I'll just open up firstly by saying welcome to the Google Cloud ANZ Dash to Cert kickoff for quarter 3 2018. For everybody who hasn't met us before, the two people who will be taking you through the journey over the next kind of 6 or 7 weeks. My name's Sean Bedford. I'm a partner engineer based in Sydney, covering all of our go-to-market partners across ANZ. And we also have online Jordan Gregg, who's a partner engagement manager from our professional services organisation, again based in Sydney and looking after the ANZ territory. So we've got a few things to cover today. I don't think it'll take a full hour, but we'll try and go into as much detail. If there are any questions, you can put them in the chat. The chat's pretty busy. There's about almost 260 people online at the moment. So yeah, if there's any questions, we might call for them at the end, and if you can put them in chat, we'll do our best to address them. But look, we'd start just by introducing the program. So I think everyone received the email that was sent out that kind of described the program at a high level. But if we were to summarize what Dash to Cert's all about, it's really about accelerating your journey to certification. So there's now a number of certification paths, and we'll go into exactly what we're going to be providing this quarter in a little bit. Last quarter, we just covered the Professional Cloud Architect certification, but we're going to open it up this quarter to a much wider set of certifications. And really, what it's all about is about facilitating and guiding you through a 6-week program where we support you not only with the online material that's available through the Coursera platform that's going to be relevant to the certification path that you take, but also supporting you with weekly office hours where we will kind of preview and introduce the content and the key points and the things that are really important to understand in the weekly Coursera material, as well as giving you the channels to communicate both with Googlers that are supporting the program, which will be not just Jordan and myself, but there'll be a couple of us, a couple of extra people that'll be helping out, to be able to ask questions on concepts that maybe you don't understand, or areas that might need a little bit of further illumination to understand, as well as addressing some of the key things that are relevant for the particular exam. So that will be covering off kind of at the end, where we do some exam preparation and review of some of the case studies where it's relevant. Obviously, we're here to support you to achieve your certification. I will say, and we'll go through it in a second, there is a reasonable amount of work that's required from your part to put in to make sure that you give yourself the best chance of passing the exam. While we're covering off the 3 main certifications that we provided, that Google provide today, it's not something that you can just walk in and kind of sit the exam, right? It does require some study and some revision, making sure that you understand both I guess the way in which the exam is delivered, and also not just the technical information that's required on what's specific to Google, but for some exams also a little bit of I guess experience in how this technology applies to customers, and that's really targeted at the Professional Cloud Architect exam, but I'll go into that in a second. On keyboard. Okay, so as I kind of hinted at before, we're offering all 3 certification paths this time around. So it's no longer just the Professional Cloud Architect for our frequent flyers, but it's the Professional Cloud Architect and the Professional Data Engineer, and it's also our newly introduced associate level exam. And I'll go through, I guess, the differences, right? Because for the difference is quite clear between the Professional Cloud Architect, the Associate Cloud Engineer, and the Professional Data Engineer. I guess the cloud stream, as we'll call it, is very much focused around kind of infrastructure and application development and how you go about building those types of solutions on GCP. Whereas the data engineer is very much focused around how do you build big data and data pipeline and data engineering style solutions on GCP. However, the differentiation isn't always abundantly clear between the Professional Cloud Architect certification and the Associate Cloud Engineer. And we want to make sure that I guess people are going into the right certification based off not only what they want to achieve as part of partner program requirements, but also that they're landing on certifications that are relevant to their skills and experience, right? I'd much rather have people sit the associate cloud engineer exam and pass and then work towards the professional cloud architect than invest kind of 6 weeks and land on the professional cloud architect exam and not pass it because there's I guess, a misalignment of expectations and there's an experience gap there. So we'll go into the detail of that. So what you can see on the screen here, tries to illuminate the differences between the associate exam and the professional level for the cloud stream. So if you're focused on kind of customer implementation and technical requirements, actually, I'll start down the bottom, right? If you're coming at this from the business perspective, if you're having discussions with customers about the designing of solutions and the optimization of solutions, and you're able to have those, I guess, higher level conversations about trading off, say price versus performance, or some of the other things that come up in these implementations, the professional level exam is where you want to land. I guess I've been pitching this as being, if you're getting up and presenting on GCP, if you're drawing solutions on whiteboards, or if you're designing solutions for other people, that's really where the professional cloud architect certification is targeted. However, if you're taking the designs which a solution architect might have put together, or you're managing or kind of operating solutions on the cloud, the associate level exam is where you want to start. Now, don't get, I guess, held up on the naming between, associate and professional. This is not it's not like the professional cloud architect certification is, a real certification, and the associate cloud engineer is just like an easy version of the cloud architect. These are different exams that target very different skill sets. So again, just as a bit of a summary, right? If you draw pictures on a whiteboard, if you balance customer requirements and trade up cost versus performance, for example, or you're providing detailed designs for build engineers, really the professional cloud architect is your sweet spot. If you're building the solutions, if you're operating and managing, and if you're looking at kind of onboarding customers, the associate cloud engineer is where you want to land. So the way I think about it is if you're hands-on keyboard and you're, again, building things, managing things, operating things, really do focus first on the cloud engineer. From a certification perspective, the questions that you get asked on the cloud engineer are going to be very different at a different level of detail than what the cloud architect exam is after. And I guess I'm laboring this point because I really want to make it clear, right? We've asked everybody as part of the, I guess, registration process to let us know what kind of certification or which certification you're interested in. However, we certainly want to make sure that people are getting into the right stream and they're going for the right certification that matches their skills and experience. All right, so the professional level certifications will expect you to understand the technical capabilities, limitations, features, and functions of all of the products and services that are available on GCP today. However, they will ask you to apply that technical knowledge to business scenarios. So there are 4 case studies on fictitious customers that document business and technical requirements and constraints. And then they'll ask you to use your experience as an architect to compare and contrast the best solution. All right, and it's really important, right? There can be more than one right answer, but there's only one that can be the best. So there's an example question. This one I've taken from the practice exam. So anybody who's sat the practice exam before should recognize it. But it hopefully gives you a bit of a flavor of the types of questions you'll get. And you can see there, this is a really good question, which is asking you to understand not only the technical requirements behind Google App Engine Flex, but to understand the, I guess, the business and technical constraints that the Dress for Win case study presents to you. So this is not a question that you can necessarily just answer by knowing how the Google App Engine Flex works, but you need to be able to actually take some customer requirements and be able to work out what the best solution is. Right? When you compare that to the associate level certification, it's going to specifically test your ability to perform specific actions on GCP. Right? It expects that you know the specific syntax and format of G-Cloud style commands and BQ style commands. And if you're not familiar with these, I guess, SDK applications, you will be by the end, as well as understand the best practice recommendations from Google, right? So it's not an exam that you can kind of fake your way through on experience. You need to know specifically how to answer these questions, right? And as an example there, how do you move an application hosted in Google App Engine from user acceptance testing to a production environment? It'll ask you questions like, how do you set up a subnet, or what's the what's the G Cloud command for this particular scenario? How do I assign roles to a service account? These types of things. So look, I hope that gives you a bit of a flavor of the certifications. I certainly don't want to scare anybody. If you're an experienced solution architect, or you're very comfortable having those, robust conversations with the customer about guiding them to the right solution, the professional cloud architect is most certainly the right path for you. However, if you're a DevOps consultant, or you're a build engineer, don't shy away from doing the Associate Cloud Engineer exam. It's a legit certification, and it will stretch you. Timelines. So as I mentioned before, I've used the word stream a couple of times. So since we're running the 3 certifications, we will be splitting the participants in Dash to Cert this quarter into 2 streams. So the first stream will be focused on the kind of cloud and inverted commas certification, so both the ACE exam and the CA exam. And the second stream will be focused on data engineering. So we'll be running separate office hours for these 2 streams, and they'll have their own exam prep, their own case review study, all that kind of jazz. But you will be sharing some common elements like the community for asking questions and things. So that's largely due to the fact that both streams are doing different material on Coursera, and the durations, I guess, of the content is a little bit different as well, as we'll see in a second. So if we have a look at the cloud specialization, the cloud stream for both the ACE and the Cloud Architect exam, we'll be working through the Architecting with Google Cloud Platform specialization on Coursera. So this is the format over the next 7 weeks. We're obviously in week 1 now, where we're going to kick off, but we're expecting next week, that is week 2, to start the coursework on Coursera. So this is the week where I basically have to get, we have to get around about 500 Coursera tokens granted out to all of you guys, guys and girls that are looking to take the certification path, and have you ready on the Monday for the office hours that we will run, as well as then you can work through the, call it 7 hours of effort required to go through the Google Cloud Platform core fundamentals infrastructure. And that's largely the format that the engagement will take each week. So if you're doing the Associate Cloud Engineer certification, the Coursera material is relevant for you up to week 5. So you will do the same Coursera material as the Professional Cloud Architect for the first 4 weeks. And then the 6th week, you will get the chance to you can attend the and you can do the design and process module and attend the office hours, or just do some exam prep if you want to. We obviously won't stop you from attending. But the 6th week is specifically for those people who are going through the Professional Cloud Architect. Now you will notice that the effort required in that 6th week is a little bit more than what comes in previous weeks. So I would say that if you wanted to, probably the best thing that you could do is get ahead of some of the coursework, because some of the early material, especially, you can get through quite quickly. But the design and process course, when you're doing the Cloud Architect exam, is quite involved, and there is a little bit of time investment required. In the 7th week, we'll be doing some exam prep and case study review. So we haven't worked out exactly the format of what we're going to do there, but it'll probably be in the format of kind of 2 webinars that we run. Again, for people who participated in the program last quarter, one of the differences that we're going through this quarter is that we're not running in-person boot camps. We've got way too many people that have expressed interest in going through this certification to have in-person boot camps. So we're going to be doing a similar kind of content, and we're going to be doing it over webinars. So yeah, we're going to give that a shot. When we jump over to the data engineering, again, we'll be working through the Coursera material, and we're going to be working through the data engineering on Google Cloud Platform specialization. You can see here that it runs over the same duration. So we've got 5 weeks of Coursera there. The hours of effort is I guess, comparable. There's some kind of slightly larger weeks compared to some of the others, but it'll be the same kind of format. There'll be office hours followed by a Coursera module for that week, and then finally ending up with some exam prep and case study review. So for anybody who's probably wondering, how do I get access to Coursera? As I mentioned before, at the end of the webinar, you'll have the chance to update your preferences for the certification, or potentially opt out if you don't want to continue. And then I will work with the training team to get Coursera access set up for all of our participants. And we will also be sending out the invitations for the office hours, probably kind of the middle to late of this week, just so that we give people the time to lock down which stream they want to participate in. So on that, I will hand over to Jordan, who's going to talk through the next couple of sections.
G'day everyone. So I'm just going to talk through the resources and communication piece, which is largely the same as sort of how we ran things last quarter. So if we look at the next slide, we've got the Google Plus community established. So this is a new community set up for specifically this Dash to Cert program. Please feel free to jump into this community. Ask as many questions, read as much feedback as you can from your peers. It's very much an information store. So we're really trying to sort of get you guys involved with sharing information amongst yourselves. For all the 3 different certs, we're going to use the single community. So feel free to use the filter and sort of tag, cloud architect related questions, or if it's the associate cloud engineer or the data engineer stream. So as well as the community, similar to what we did last year, we're going to be running through office hours each week to try and support all of you, review the work and Coursera modules for the previous week, as well as touch on the modules and things coming up for the following week. So we're going to have 2 office hours. The first is going to be Monday at midday to 12:45. This stream is going to cover the associate cloud engineer as well as the professional cloud architect certification. The second stream is going to be purely focused on data engineering. So that'll follow shortly after the initial office hours. As well as that, if any of you have questions and want to reach out to any of our team personally, feel free to email through any request to dash-to-cert-anz@google.com. Please try and avoid emailing any contacts sort of personally. This will be handled by a team, and it's just a little bit easier for us to kind of handle communications. So feel free to email through to that alias for anything if you don't feel like sharing it publicly on that Google Plus community. So that kind of covers the 3 different resources for communication. You've got Google Plus, the office hours, and the email alias. So now I'll pass it back to Sean to cover off our asks, sort of expectations and next steps.
Thanks, Jordan. All right. So yeah, there was a bit of an issue with the Google Plus community being set to private. I've just turned that on. I've posted the short link in the YouTube chat. So if everyone wants to log in and grab on that, make sure you register. We do have to approve them. So yeah, just put your request in and we'll get inundated with hundreds of emails, which will be great. All right. So our next steps. One of the learnings that we had from last time we ran this was around Coursera access. We're going to give you you're going to get an email from Coursera with an access token that allows you to access effectively all of the Google training material. Now, one of the asks that we do have is that you set up an account that maps through to your corporate email as part of the link that you get sent. Now, this is this will make more sense to you when you receive the email. However, one of the challenges that we have is if you have I guess a previous Coursera account that is a personal account, it gets really difficult for us to track how the group is performing against Coursera, and you will get a lot of really annoying emails from myself and Jordan kind of trying to get an update on progress. Because really one of the big indicators that we have for how people are going to, I guess, progress with their exam certification is on Coursera progress. It's one of the things that we use anyway. So please, we will set you up with access. You will get an email. It will have a link to create an account. Please create an account with that. Even if you have to create a new account that maps to your corporate email address, please do that because it makes our lives a bunch easier. So there's probably a bunch of you that are listening to the webinar and going, look, I don't have time for this. I can't fit this in. And I basically don't want to progress. If you go back to the registration form, please do let us know. One of the things that we do have with the Coursera tokens is that they're valid for 12 months, and they're kind of like a one-time use thing. So if you don't tell me that you don't want to proceed in this, we'll issue you with Coursera access, and effectively your 12 months kind of starts from when we give you the token. So if you don't think you've got the time commitment to work through it, please do let us know. We'll exclude you from any further communications. If you don't tell me, you'll get meeting invites for office hours. You'll get spammed. So if you're not interested, just let us know. It's easier for everybody. For the same on the same vein, if you want to change your stream, and I'm not super fussed about whether you want to do the cloud architect versus the associate cloud engineer. It's more if you want to change from stream 1 to stream 2. Please do update your details. Again, later in the week, probably Wednesday or Thursday, we will send out the updated calendar invites for the office hours. And it's just easier if you can update your stream kind of today or tomorrow. We'll make sure that's reflected in the invites that get sent out. Again, this is a fairly open program. If there's other people in your organization that you think would get value out of becoming Google certified, please feel free to give them to hassle them, get them involved in the program. We're more than happy to support as many of you as possible to get certified. It's great to see so many people on the live stream today and the people that have expressed an interest. But like the bigger we can take it, the more people we have out there spreading the good word of Google, the better off it'll be for everybody. I mentioned this one before. Kind of give yourself some time. Don't try and cram all of the Coursera work into the last week. There is a lot of content to get through. There's a lot of videos. There's a lot of kind of quick labs and stuff that you go through as part of that Coursera material. So do give yourself the time. If you have some, if you do have some downtime, try and get ahead. Try and take the pressure off. If you do what I did and try to watch it all at double speed and try and cram it into a week, it gets really hard. Your brain hurts, and you end up really struggling to take everything in. So do take the time. And again, kind of on that point, one of the best ways that you can learn this is by doing, especially on the Associate Cloud Engineer exam. It really pays to work through some of the quick labs, and we'll try and get out some of the relevant quests and things to kind of work through that, at least kind of a little bit of practical exam. But yeah, just give yourself time. That's the main recommendation. And on that point as well, kind of set a goal. One of the things that we do find, and I can kind of speak to this one from experience, is that if you don't set yourself a goal and you just kind of say, yeah, I'll sit the exam when I'm ready, you kind of never get ready. You can always find a reason why you can't do it, and why you need more time to prepare. So set yourself a goal, kind of give yourself 4 or 5 weeks to get into the program, and then register for the exam. We didn't actually have a slide on it. For the professional exams, there's a $200 USD fee, or $125 USD for the associate level exam. It's there's a couple of training providers that you can register for. But if you do set yourself a bit of a deadline, it gives you something to work towards, and you're definitely more likely to actually sit the exam. One of the things that we do ask, and a few of you who have registered with like Gmail accounts or other kind of personal email accounts, is to interact with us using your corporate email. It really helps for us to engage better with our partners when we know who we're talking to and which partner they're from. In that, one of the requirements of the Google Plus community is that you use a Google account. Again, if you're not using a corporate account, we may actually reject your request just because we want to control some of the, there's some things that we may say on that group that we wouldn't say to a wider audience. And we do want to control the people who do have access. So you can see a link there, and we'll post it into the YouTube chat. This basically allows you to create a Google account for your corporate email. So even if you're not a G Suite customer, this will allow you to have a Google account for your, at organization.com.au or whatever your email address might be. And that will allow you then to register for the Google Plus community. On that point, do participate in the Google Plus. It actually was something. It was probably the thing that worked the best the last time we ran this engagement. There was so much, I guess, robust discussion that went back and forth. People asking questions, other partners giving examples of how to solve particular problems. It was a really good, healthy community. So yeah, do please register and get involved. You'll learn a bunch. The office hours will be recorded. So I know there's a few people who have said that they may not be able to get to the office hours during office hours. However, just from a scheduling perspective, they're kind of the times that we've got to run them. But we will be recording every office hours session, and we will post them onto the Google Plus group, so you can watch them at your leisure. But we do, I guess, recommend that if you can, to turn up to the office hours. If there are particular questions that you're really struggling with, or something that wasn't covered during the office hours that you've got, something that wasn't particularly covered well during either the Coursera material or the previous office hours where we introduced the content, feel free to post them to the Google Plus community. If there's enough, I guess, back and forth conversation, we might bring them into the office hours and address them. So yeah, I think the big piece of advice is really just to participate and get involved, ask questions in kind of whatever format. It's the best way that we can all learn. So on that point, I'm going to jump over to the Dash to Cert, onto the YouTube channel, and just have a look. Are there any questions? Do we get exam vouchers? Okay, sorry, I'm going as far up as I can to join questions. Ask to join tab. Only one session per week. So yes, there will be there will be two office hours YouTube live events that we will run. They will be 45-minute sessions on a Monday. I think it was 12 to 12:45 and 1 to 1:45 every Monday. Are you suggesting we create a separate YouTube account? No, I'm not suggesting you create a separate YouTube account. It's more a Google account that maps back to your corporate email address. So if you're already a Google Cloud partner or a Google partner, one of the resources that you do have available to you is called Google Cloud Connect. Now, one of the requirements for Google Cloud Connect is a Google account associated with your corporate account. So I do recommend that you create a Google account for your corporate account anyway. It will just make interacting with Google so much easier. What is the time zone? So all the times that you've seen will be in Australian Eastern Standard Time. So it is currently 12 o'clock now in Sydney, and this will be the time when the office hours will run. We've actually had a fair bit of interest from partners across Asia Pacific. So I understand there are some participants from outside of Australia and New Zealand time zones. So I do apologise for the time zone differences, and I hope you can make it. Can't we log in with non-corporate account? No, I think I've addressed that. Do we get exam vouchers? Unfortunately, Google do not give exam vouchers. We do expect that our partners purchase their own exam vouchers. That may or may not change. That may or may not change in the future. I'm not sure, but the current position is that we don't give exam vouchers. Cloris, I think I confirmed what the cost for certification was, $200 USD for the professional. Ben Ong, I will upload a recording of the YouTube Live to the Google Plus group. So please, again, do register. Turn on the stream should be uploaded. Will this webinar be available? Covered that. I want out. Please let us know if you do not want to participate in the program after registering. Yeah, so if you want out, tick yes. I'll assume anybody that's already filled out that, if you've attended the webinar, you do want in. But yeah, go back if you want out, and just let us know by ticking yes. Apologies for that question. I added it quite last minute, and it is a little bit confusing. I will post all of the links to the chat once I've finished running. Actually, Jordan, can you do that for me? So the office hours webinars, basically what they're going to be based on is we're going to do a bit of a review of where everybody's at in terms of general progress of Coursera, any kind of important notifications that we need to make, any kind of questions which might have come up on the Google Plus community that seemed like they were quite confusing. We might go back and clarify. Otherwise, what we will be doing is basically introducing the content that will be covered through Coursera that week. So think of it like a little bit of a summary or a preview to walk through some of the key things to watch out for in the material for the week. Share the link for corporate accounts. Okay, I will do that now while everybody's asking. Okay, so the link to create a corporate account is just been posted to the bottom. For Stream 2 data engineering, who would be the ideal candidates? Okay, that's a good question. So if you go back to the material, this kind of shows you the types of content that's covered. It's very much, as you can see, right, it's a exam that covers data engineering concepts, but it does cover a fairly broad spectrum of the data platform on GCP. So you can see there it goes through kind of the fundamentals of big data and machine learning and unstructured data. And so that's basically looking at how you can use things like cloud storage buckets to stage data and then moving them into potentially a Hadoop style solution on Dataproc. It's looking at BigQuery and how you can use the serverless elements. So it's a bit of a blend. I'm probably not the best person to talk to it because I haven't actually sat the exam myself. I've done the other two. Jordan, do you want to pipe up? You sat the data engineering exam last week.
Yeah, hey everyone. The exam, it's a completely different sort of practice area than the more infrastructure or architecture focused exams. It's very much focusing on our database products around BigQuery and Bigtable specifically. There's some machine learning components in there, some high-level questions around different types of learning models. It doesn't go too in-depth, but it does touch on TensorFlow and it does touch on some of our learning APIs as well. So if you are sort of you have database administration experience, SQL or you want to get into that area, the data engineering certification is very, very much aligned to that kind of practice area. It touches on the Hadoop framework, distributed systems, data flow is covered quite extensively in there as well. But you sort of need to have hands-on practical experience for some of the questions as well. So I think some of the labs and the Coursera work definitely helped me out get through the exam. I passed it a week ago. So yeah, it's a slightly different practice area, but I think if you follow through the Coursera material, it should sufficiently set you up for success.
Thanks, Jordan. Okay, are there any other questions? There was a question there about if people want to sit both exams. I probably wouldn't recommend that you try and sit both exams. It's probably there's probably a lot of weekly work required. So I would try and focus on one stream over the other. And yeah, everything, all the content will be put up, all the links will be put up on the Google Plus community. So do register. For anybody, sorry, is there a cross-grade path from associate engineer to CA? There's standalone examinations. Again, I think we went through the differences between those. If you're, again, I think the associate engineer is a good place to start unless you're a pretty experienced cloud architect and you're happy having those kind of trade-off discussions.
And if I could just add off the back of that, in terms of if you decided to do 2 of these certifications, to Sean's point, it would be a lot of work doing the data engineering Coursera material as well as the cloud architect material. But what you could do is sort of cross-pollinate across the material for the ACE exam as well as the professional architect exam. Some of the modules align, so that could be an option.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of crossover between the ACE exam and the cloud architect. Absolutely. Please tell us again on how to create a corporate account or as a link takes a normal account. Let me try and pull it up myself. I haven't actually done it because I don't need one. Okay. So if you're having any troubles with it, what I might do is send out an email after this. I won't try and cover it on this webinar. I'll send out an email to everybody who's having a problem with it, and hopefully that should clear things up. The technical prerequisites for the associate cloud engineer. Look, I think I covered, and there was a question there about a tester, whether a tester would be a good, a good candidate for the certification. It's very much focused around how do you perform and how do you complete specific actions and what's the best way to do things that an engineer would need to do. So it's not asking you to design a solution or pick the best solution. It's saying, how do you set up the lifecycle rules on a cloud storage bucket to make sure that files are deleted after 90 days? It's that level of detail. So if, as a tester, you're involved in kind of automating cloud solutions and looking at how you kind of handle those types of things, you could get at the ACE exam. It really depends on what you mean by being a tester. You'll see when you start the Coursera material as well, the level of detail. And I will say for the ACE exam, there's also a really good set of code labs, which we'll try and get you guys access to, which will show you the level of, I guess, proficiency or technical proficiency required to pass the exam.
Yeah, I think the ACE exam is suitable for anyone that touches the console, anyone that's building solutions. Not to scare anyone, but I think by us calling it an associate exam, it can be looked at as sort of less than the pro level exams, but it's not an easy, simple exam by any means.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Are there any other questions? Did we miss anyone's questions? There was so many questions there. I hope we haven't missed any, but if there is anything, feel free to copy and paste it into the chat. Is there material detailing how to match AWS architecture concepts to GCP? There is a page mapping services. There are some things that we'll go through. So obviously Coursera will introduce to this is what GCP is. We do have some training material as well that is also available on Coursera, which is about GCP for AWS professionals, which does that level of mapping. So you have that available to you as well. So between those two things, that should largely cover it off. And as well, the Google Plus community is, again, a pretty good place to ask if there's any features or products, because, again, this stuff changes pretty rapidly, right, that isn't covered in that material. So we can work through that.
There's a question on here around would data engineering suit a business analyst who uses SQL? Absolutely. Totally aligned to that role. As a DevOps consultant, what technologies will we be exposed to? I think more so the DevOps technologies you'll be exposed to would be in the ACE exam. It is touched on lightly in terms of architecture and design in the pro architect examination, but it's more prevalent in ACE. In regards to data engineer, business warehouses, things like that, is that covered or only big data? A lot of questions around moving from legacy to the new age, the new way of doing things through Google services. So that's definitely touched on. How much experience with ML does the Stream 2 course expect? It's touched on reasonably lightly, not too in depth. I would say that you need to to understand what TensorFlow is, what it's used for, be familiar with some of the APIs, different types of learning, machine learning models. Data flow, BigQuery, and other stuff. That's not really a question. We're a partner. How do I get access to paid Coursera material? Is this possible? Currently, I'm on a Coursera trial. So we will be organizing Coursera logins for these data engineering and architects courses. So they're generally paid courses. We will be providing those for free of charge to attendees. That probably covers off. There's a couple questions here asking around Azure and AWS, which I don't think we'll cover right now, but always feel free to communicate through that community on the G+ community, and your peers and you know, the Dash to Cert program managers can jump in and help out in that community.
All right. Well, look, we might wrap it up there. I realize there's a steady kind of stream of additional questions coming through. Please, again, register for the Google Plus community, and we will sort out your access to Coursera. And for anybody who's already registered, we do need to go through and review and approve all of the requests. So do bear with us while we try to get on top of all the requests. It will happen this week. Thank you very much for your time, and we really look forward to hosting you throughout the your journey to certification. So again, thank you very much. And we'll see you for the first office hours next Monday. Cheers, guys.
Thanks everyone. Bye.